Okay, guys, we're going to start painting your picture now that we've got it in there. We've got the grid completely erased, okay? So when we start to do the watercolor part of it, you can see I've got my bowl ready, my paint. I've got a piece of scrap paper, white paper to test colors on, okay? Right here. Now, when I start, I'm going to start in the lightest part first, which will be up here in the sky. All right, I want to do all the light areas first because I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll start doing each section that's a little darker after that. So this will be first. Okay, this is pretty much white, so I'm not even really going to paint the paper where it's white. But then I'll do this. I'll add a little red to make it a little bit more purple. Then I'll clean my brush out, and I'll do this edge of the rocks with like an orange, and then I just go as it gets darker. I do each section that I think is a little darker. All right, and the thing is, you do not use a brush this size to paint a picture. All right, this is for big background areas on big pictures. I do not want to see anybody using a brush this size. You should be using a brush this size to add this blue into this area, and then this size to add little detail areas. All right, so that's the biggest size brush you should use. And if here's my pencil tip, you can see it's about the size of a pencil tip. Okay, so if you want something to compare it to. Now, when I start, just like when we were little, we're gonna be using our paint, watercolor paint, and you just like when you're in kindergarten, we add a little bit of water to each color first, and then we let it sit. And again, we're not using black. We are not using black. You can use brown a little bit, but we're not using black because it'll end up taking over the picture. At the end, if we're going to do a little bit of detail work, we'll do a black Sharpie or fine tip pen or something, but we're not painting with black. It takes over a picture too fast with you guys. Okay, so I am going to let you use the tray area to mix your paint in, because we have watched the Primary Color song about 50 million times, so I know that you all know the primary colors. So I just washed out that area, and I just take a paper towel and I push to get the water out of there and the color. So I've got this clean area to work in, right? And when you're done with the color, you just wipe it out with a paper towel. That's all you've got to do, okay? So I'm going to just do this little blue area first. So I'm going to put water in that area first, okay? Then I take a little drop of blue and I mix it in there. As you can see, that blue isn't very dark, maybe a little darker than that. Okay, if I want to test it to see how dark it is, so I'm pretty close right there. Okay, so that'll be my area I paint in first, which is in this big area here. Okay, and it's right above my rocks. Okay, there's a little streak here, and when you paint with watercolor, really, you paint in layers. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit more. By layers, I mean you paint a little area at a time. Okay, so these are the clouds up here. It comes all the way down here. And you can see I'm painting the direction of the clouds to make it look more like a cloud. Now, I can also see in the bottom of this picture, there's some blue down in here on this rock. So I'm actually going to use some of that down in here. And I'm going to go back over that later. You can see it's kind of blue down here. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little bit of red and mix it with these two to make that purpley kind of color. Okay, and that's a little too red, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it and turn it back more into purple. Oh, there it is. Okay, right? Because we know that red and yellow make blue, or red and blue make purple. I'm sorry, trying to paint and talk at the same time. But I'm just using the tip of my brush. The tip of my brush. And I'm looking where I'm painting. And I'm kind of letting it, I'm filling in the areas, but I'm kind of letting it do its own thing, kind of, at the same time. I just noticed, there's a little bit up here. Okay. Now, I just noticed the sun and the orange in the corner over here really brightly. So I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to wipe that out. Okay. Take some yellow. Now that yellow is dirty from green in it. So I take it, I clean it up by just brushing at it. Put some over here. I'm going to put a little orange in there with that. Okay. A little bit of red. And a lot of water. So you can kind of see what's going to happen with it. So now, let me even do some orange back in here. And down around in here. And because this is darker, this little plateau, if I hit the plateau, it's not a big deal because it's going to be darker anyway, eventually. And I'm going to put a sunspot in there, right in this corner. So I'm going to take my yellow. Kind of do yellow. A little too much. Okay. So you just kind of keep going and mixing the stuff. I'll take a little bit and a little bit of this. And I'll kind of go back over and kind of mix it all back in together. Okay. So you just do a little bit at a time. And then later I'm going to go back in and do, and I'll just start to do it now for you. So you can see. And I already had red in there. So I'm going to just do this edge and watch now when I add this edge in. And really I should wait until that's completely dry so I don't touch wet to wet so it smears together. But you can see the top of the rock in there now. Okay. So you kind of get the idea. And I'll have it up here when I'm done. You'll be able to see it on the web page. Okay. There you go.